It's game over for the BBC. And so you guys might want to consider cancelling your TV licence now. Hey up everyone and welcome to Political Nerds. I'm Steph the Alter Nerd, your nerdy political guide from Washington DC to Westminster and beyond. Now of course, before I jump into this, the usual disclaimer: do your own research, come to your own conclusions, and I'm not inciting hatred to anyone or particular group, religion, etc. So let's jump into this absolutely insane, extraordinary story. Here we go. Exclusive from the Telegraph, BBC doctored Donald Trump's speech. Internal report reveals corporation edited footage in a panorama programme to make it seem that the president was encouraging the Capitol riot, according to a whistleblowing dossier. So the BBC doctored a Donald Trump speech by making him appear to encourage the Capitol Hill riot, according to an internal whistleblowing memo seen by the Telegraph. A panorama programme broadcast a week before the US election completely misled viewers by showing the president telling supporters he was going to walk the Capitol with them to fight like hell, when in fact he said he would walk with them to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. The mangled footage was highlighted in a 19-page dossier on BBC bias, which was compiled by a recent member of the Corporation Standards Committee and is now circulating in government departments. The dossier said the programme made the US president say things he never actually said by splicing together footage from the start of his speech with something he said nearly an hour later. So it isn't like they spliced together footage from what he said one moment to what he said like 10 seconds later. No. They spliced footage from what he said at one moment to then what he said literally over an hour later. This is insane. It's claimed senior executives and the BBC chairman had ignored and dismissed a string of serious complaints raised by the corporation's own standards watchdog. Well, what's the point in having a watchdog if you're not going to freaking listen to him in the first place? Now, GB News, Nana Akua, said something about herself that I didn't know about before. She says, when I left the BBC, because I was not prepared to accept their bias, I was told by many that by joining GB News, I'd destroyed my career. How wrong they were. This latest Trump doctoring revelation does not surprise me at all. Disgraceful. I didn't know Nana Akua used to be at the BBC. I mean, fair play to her. I didn't know that, did you? Now, here is the doctored clip versus the real clip. Here we go.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
So that was the doctored clip. Here now is the real clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. We're going to.
You might want to cancel your TV licence at this point. You might want to consider it. The BBC has gone way too far this time. Way, way, way too far. Now, here we've got GB News Home and Security Editor Mark Wright reacting to this news, saying the following.
This is nakedly abundant to see, that spliced together footage to paint a completely and utterly different picture from what was originally said. Gordon Rayner, fantastic scoop, the BBC, I'll put it to you. Bang to rights.
Yes, I mean, the thing about, television news journalism, there's a big creative element to it as well. So while, of course, journalistically, you've got to be very accurate, when you're building up a documentary, you want it to look as creative and impactful as possible. But the difficulty here is when you take two clips of a speech and you make it say something completely different to what was clearly the intention in what Donald Trump was telling that crowd. Not that they should go down to the Capitol Hill and fight, but they should go down to Capitol Hill and cheer on those brave congressmen and women within Capitol Hill. So completely different interpretation is drawn from the edited version.
That's the problem, right? Now, former BBC presenter Danny Kelly, he reacted to all of this, saying the following.
Martin, I've been fortunate enough to do freelance work for GB News for the last 4 or 5 years, and I've mentioned on your show so many times that the BBC will push to the front of the queue anything bad news about Trump, anything bad news in my time about the Conservatives or Brexit. But this is remarkable. This has taken my breath away. I'm used to stories being buried, Martin, but I'm not used to stories being so distorted to push this liberal, anti-Trump, woke agenda. This has literally shocked me to my core. I just cannot believe that Panorama, the flagship program, Martin, this isn't some little local regional poxy radio station that's decided to bury bad news about a Conservative administration in Walsall. This is the flagship Panorama BBC programme that has deliberately distorted actual truth and facts in order to push a narrative and to push an agenda. And the thing is, Martin, it's not just one producer. There would have been a team of people behind the scenes. There would have been someone who spliced this audio and video deliberately. They cut it in pieces and then glued it to distort and mistruth and lie. I cannot believe that, and what a great expose, by the way, but I can't, even someone who's critical of the BBC and their agenda, and it's true, they have an agenda, I cannot believe that they've done this.
Now, guess what the BBC are doing? Oh yeah, they're trying to bury it. They're trying to ignore that this story even exists. Thanks to Defund the BBC on X here, saying of BBC Verify taking the day off, not a single mention from the BBC on the huge Telegraph story showing they deliberately doctored footage of Trump to mislead the public. Wakey, wakey. Wakey, wakey, freaking indeed. And how many times must the BBC prove that they are rotten to the core? Here is, I mean, do you know what? If you didn't laugh, you'd freaking cry at this point. Here is, right, one of their ex-presenters. I'm not even going to say his name because his name isn't fit to pass my lips. Why? Because this is an ex-presenter on BBC News who is a convicted child XXX offender, right? Telling us why we should trust him and the BBC. Yeah, here we go.
One note of caution, always be careful. It's important to check all the sources. They might not be giving you the full picture, or they might have made, an innocent mistake. So you need to be careful. Only use those sources that you trust. Are they likely to have accurate information on the story? How much checking do you need to do? Depends on the type of source, but it's usually a good idea to check the information with at least 2 different sources.
This is coming, right? A, from the BBC, and B, from an ex-presenter who is a convicted child XXX offender. Yeah. Telling us why we should trust him and the BBC.
That's our policy. So we have truth and accuracy, 2 of the BBC's basic news values. The audience need to trust you, and that depends on you being accurate. They're important values, and they'll help you become not just a reporter, but a trusted school reporter. One more important bit of advice. To protect people under the age of 18, you must only use their first names in reports. Never use surnames, okay?
We then get a lecture from this ex-presenter who's a convicted child XXX offender turning around and saying how we should be protecting underage children, basically, under the age of 18. Yeah, you guys might want to consider cancelling your TV licence. This is freaking nuts. Now, the Telegraph obviously have got a lot of comments from readers, but this is the best one that they've got that's going viral at the moment. Thanks to Mark Littlewood for sharing this on X, saying, "Sir, I'm looking forward to the Panorama investigation into panorama. Oh, we're looking forward to that as well. But as Patrick Christie says right here, it is totally game over for the BBC. Why? Because, yeah, they could actually now be sued to oblivion. As Kevin O'Sullivan is saying right here, the BBC now might be entering into a world of pain courtesy of President Trump. And that might be coming sooner than they think. Have a load of this.
As dishonest and full of you know what I mean, as the ones here in America. So that's interesting because Donald Trump sued 60 Minutes, which, if you like, is America's equivalent of Panorama, because he said they edited an interview with Kamala Harris to make it look bad for him, and he got $16 million off of CBS via their parent company, Paramount. So I suspect the BBC might be hearing from Mr. Trump's lawyers. Interesting times. Paul, great call.
I suspect so too. As revelations about the BBC keep on coming from the Telegraph. If you think what you've heard so far is really bad, guys, it's getting a heck of a lot worse.
Would you publicly accuse someone of a crime when you had no independent witnesses to it? Well, you almost certainly wouldn't, especially if you had prior knowledge of someone else being to blame. But that's exactly...
Now, I've had to stop the clip right there because of a little bit of the music behind it. Don't want to be getting copyright struck for it. But if you guys want to see the full clip, go on X, follow Defund the BBC. Because this time they've exposed the BBC pushing Hamas's lies around mass graves and war crimes. Another example of the BBC somehow, for some reason, seemingly acting as the Hamas press office for the UK. It's absolutely disgusting. But yeah, you guys might want to consider cancelling your TV licence now. The BBC has gone way too far this time. But enough about what I think. What do you guys think? With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and unfortunately with the state of the UK at the moment, there's going to be more, make sure you subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe here at Political Nerds. If you're watching on X, make sure you're following me at Steph Alter Nerd. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Do you think the BBC has gone too far this time? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. I appreciate all your faces. And until the next time, you guys, laters.